Evening, everyone, and welcome to our Thursday call, where we'll be talking a little bit about health and health prevention. With us tonight, we're going to have two incredible guest speakers. We're going to have Alison, all the way from Canada. Alison, she's a nurse, she's a mother of two, and she's going to be doing the first part of today's presentation. And then we have Patricia. Patricia, all the way from Portugal, the Algarve. Patricia, she's a coach in nutrition, and she is also very passionate about health. So I'll start by introducing myself. My name is Ricardo, and I've always been very, very involved with health, fitness, and I do too have a passion for health. Um, One thing I can share with you that when I found Zinzino around 4 years ago, he actually transformed my life moving forward. I had a significant injury on my right knee, and that actually affected me, my career in terms of my profession. So I really had to start thinking about what I was going to do moving forward. But thanks to the knowledge that you're going to get today, hopefully you get a better understanding what preventative health is about. So, what if you could live a life pain free, or maybe have less pain, if you could move better, if you could just feel more energized? That's what we're going to be talking about today. We want to introduce you to the world of test based nutrition. So I hope that you get to the end of today's call and you can actually turn to the person that invited you to be here today and you can thank them for the invitation because we hope that you'll find this as beneficial as I found. So I'm going to pass you on to Alison. She will be doing the first part of today's presentation. So Alison, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Ricardo. It's my pleasure to present today. And thank you very much to everyone who's taken the time to join us. I'm just going to share my screen here. Excellent. So I'd like to just begin by telling you what the word Zinzino means. It is a small piece with great value. And it's my belief that by the end of this presentation, you will understand how what we are doing is a small piece that is having a tremendous impact on human health. We're living in a time where there's technological advancements, new things are happening. We have electric cars, smartphones, we have AI. We know so much about the human body. We've sequenced human DNA. We can do organ transplant surgery. There's so many advancements in our life. And yet health-related problems are increasing. I would wager that everyone on this call today has someone in their family or in their close circle of friends who's suffered from a chronic health disease. Maybe it's cancer or heart disease or diabetes. But in a world, in a time where we know so much and there's been so many advancements, it seems to me that people aren't getting healthier, they're actually getting sicker. And it's time to ask, why is that happening? Now, the World Health Organization has come out with a statement saying inflammation is the greatest threat to human health. Another quote from them is 6.3 billion people worldwide are deficient in omega-3. Now, in a couple minutes, I'm going to tie those two together and show you how that omega-3 plays into inflammation. There is a consensus, there has been a consensus in medicine for quite a long time, that inflammation is the root cause of almost all chronic disease. More recently, this message is crossing over into the mainstream. You're seeing it here on the cover of Time magazine. There are whole books written about this topic of chronic inflammation being the silent killer. Silent killer because when we have this chronic inflammation in our body, we often don't know it. And if we don't know it, we're not doing anything about it. Now, there have been many scientific papers that have been published that have made a link between chronic inflammation and omega-6, omega-3 ratio. As you can see here, this is not something new. If you were to do a Google search, search the internet, you would find a lot of information out there. So again, we know a lot, and yet we're still seeing a lot of really sick people. So part of the explanation here is we used to eat food from Mother Nature. 100 years ago, the plants we were eating, the animals we were eating, the fish, all of our food came from a cleaner planet, arguably, and it was full of what our body needed: the vitamins, the nutrients, healthy fats, fiber. We got everything we needed to function optimally from our food. Fast forward to today, and we're eating a lot of man-made food, a lot of processed, mass-produced, mass-farmed, factory-made food. And the consequence of that is it's devoid of nutrition. It's high in calories, high in sugar, high in sodium, and it's lacking the fiber, the fats, the nutrition that our body needs to thrive. Oh, excuse me. So a little bit about the history of omega-6 to omega-3 balance. I didn't realize this a couple of years ago, so I want to share with you what omega-6 and omega-3 is. They're molecules that are essential. They're also known as essential fatty acids. And the key word there is essential. So you have these omega-6 molecules. We call them essential because our body cannot produce them on their own. We have to eat them. We either get them from our food or from a supplement. We need them to survive. And the omega-6 is very important because when we are injured, if you cut your finger, if you sprain your ankle, your body responds first with inflammation. And the omega-6s are an inflammatory molecule. Then you have the omega-3, also essential. Our body doesn't make it on its own, so we get it from our food or we get it from a supplement. And the omega-3 is a little bit different because it's anti-inflammatory. So it's what our body needs to cool that inflammation. So we need both omega-6 and omega-3 molecules that we get from our food sources. So initially, humans were designed to be at a 1-to-1 ratio, 1 omega-6 to every 1 omega-3. What science shows us is that if we have a ratio of 3 omega-6 to every 1 omega-3, our body functions very well. We are thriving and functioning optimally. Around 1960, we started to see a shift in this ratio, and we were starting to see the omega-6s going up. And when you think about 1960s, what was going on at that time, women were entering the workforce. There was much more convenience foods showing up on our dinner tables, a lot of restaurants, drive-through restaurants, packaged food. And in all of that convenience food, we had a lot of seed oils. And seed oils are really high in omega-6. So we were getting a lot more of this omega-6 into our diet than in previous years. Fast forward to today, and the average ratio is now 15-to-1, 15 omega-6 to every 1 omega-3. And when we look to the future, that number is even higher. It's higher in our children, and it's higher in people who have a more vegan diet and are not getting good sources of omega-3. And I should just say, because I forgot to mention, some of the common food sources of omega-6 are red meat and eggs, and I did mention the seed oils. And common sources of omega-3 are there are some plant-based omega-3s, but the really important ones are marine-based. Those come from algae or from fish. So what is the consequence of this imbalance that we're seeing that's happening? And what happens here is your body has this compromised functionality. When you have way too much omega-6 and not enough omega-3, you're living in more of a chronic state of inflammation, and that's affecting every system of your body. Things are just not functioning the way they're meant to. And that happens at the cellular level. So human beings were made up of trillions and trillions of cells. And where these omega-6 and omega-3 fatty acids, where they're being utilized in our body, is in our cell membranes. Our cell membranes are made up of primarily these fats, the omega-6 and omega-3. So when you have way too much omega-6 in your diet, your cell membrane becomes rigid. It's kind of hard. Things cannot get into it the way they should. So the nutrients you're eating, the good things you're eating, are having trouble getting into the cell. And the toxins, the waste products that all cells produce, are having a hard time getting out of the cell. So when these cell membranes are compromised like this, the cells in your body, they can't communicate with each other the way they should. And this toxicity builds up in your cells. And that leads to this silent killer, this chronic inflammation. And again, that's affecting every system of your body, as we're completely made up of cells. So to achieve a healthy cell membrane, we want to be at that 3-to-1 ratio or better, 2-to-1, 1-to-1. And we get that ratio by having a good balance between the omega-6 to omega-3. When that happens, we have properly functioning cell membranes. They're more fluid, they're more permeable. So that means that the nutrients you're consuming, they can get into the cell the way they should. The waste products that your cells produce flow out the way they should. And overall, your cells are communicating really well in your body, and you have less inflammation. So the question is, are you in the safe zone or are you in the danger zone? Where do you think your ratio is at? And sometimes, we just don't know. I love this image of the huge iceberg under the water because we don't know what's going on in our body at all times. And this is where we come in at Zinzino. We have a test that will tell you your ratio. It's called our balance test. It's a dry blood spot test. It's done in the comfort of your home. It's just a little prick of the finger, couple of drops of blood on a test card, and you can find out your baseline, find out where you're at. We have a few other tests that you can see here in this image. We have our latest, just released, first of its kind in the world, gut health test. You'll hear a little bit more about that from Patricia. And we can also test your vitamin D level and your HbA1c, which is a blood sugar test. So if you want to know your number, you want to know your omega-6/3 ratio, you take our balance test, and that gets sent off to Vitas Analytical Services, which is a world-renowned lab in Oslo, Norway. At Zinzino, we're partnered with Vitas. We're one of their clients. They do testing for huge research facilities. You can see some of them listed here. Harvard University. They've also done work with the World Health Organization, and they're the world leaders in these dry blood spot tests. So to date, Vitas has resulted over 1.5 million tests for us. And what that's showing us, those results, is that we are a world out of balance. So globally, our average 97% of people who take their first balance test are out of balance. They have too much omega-6, and that ratio is not where it needs to be. So I'm in Canada, in North America. We're at 99% out of balance. You've maybe heard that standard American diet, and it's not really serving us so well over here. Now, 20% of people who've taken this balance test on their first test were already consuming an omega-3 supplement, and they still failed the test. So how do we fix this problem? Well, at Zinzino, we have an amazing scientific advisory board. These are the people behind our balance test and behind the solution that we're going to share with you today. So I would like just to take a few minutes to share a video with you, just to kind of explore and explain why traditional supplementation is not working and what the solution is.
A question I often get asked is, why would someone like me with a background in academia, who've become quite well established and recognized internationally as a researcher and research coordinator, will join forces with an organization like Zinzino? Back in 2020, I was working as a research coordinator for 2 global health strategies. And the problem that we were really starting to face and tackle was the fact that the Office of Global Burden had published data which had been shared by the World Health Organization that estimated a 6.3 billion people on planet Earth were living with an omega-3 deficiency. And that's quite profound. As a part of the research strategy team I was in, we started to consider, well, what else can we do? And we looked at supplementation, but the reality is that the evidence, the research evidence around supplementation, well, it was quite damning. We knew there was a systematic review published in 2018 that quantified the area. The outcome of that, the statement, the findings were that most of these supplements, well, they failed to function. So there we were, scratching our heads. How do we fix a global health problem? How do we put back in something that is essential, that needs to be there in order to optimize health? And then, curiously, as these things come about, a good friend of mine called me out of the blue and said, have you ever heard of this Scandinavian company called Zinzino? Now, he was making a personal inquiry. He'd had some health issues over the years, and his doctor over in the United States had recommended this specific company with their specific product and had told him this is the one that works. And I was skeptical. Myself and our team had been looking at this for some time, and to me it was yeah, here's another one. But he asked me to take a look, and so I did. I thought, I'll take a look. It takes no time. Let's see what's going on in this space. Why would it be any different? And the moment I did, I saw 2 profound aspects that were really game-changing. And I recognized it immediately. First of all, the test. The first thing that I saw was that this was a test-based company. But this was actually a company that had aligned with one of the most reputable, distinguished, independent laboratories in the world. And they were the people who were doing the dry blood spot samples for them. This piqued my interest. In science, let's get real. If we can't measure it, to a certain extent, we don't even accept that it's a reality, and we like to test and test and test again to see how something stacks up against repeated scrutiny. And here we had one of the most recognized laboratories in the world doing this type of blood analysis. And then I looked at the product and had that moment of, not eureka, but certainly I recognized immediately the simplicity of the genius. You see, where omega-3s occur in nature, they are naturally bound to a polyphenol. Polyphenols are another essential aspect, powerful antioxidants of our nutritional health. They function on so many levels within the human biology, within the human organism. And where we find omega-3 in nature, they are bound to these polyphenols, but the essential refining process of fish oil, in order to eliminate those environmental toxins, also separates it from the polyphenol. And so the minute I loaded up the information, looked at the page, and I saw the simplicity of the genius of what Zinzino had done, they'd realigned nature. They'd put the omega-3 back with the polyphenol. And there it was. So immediately I realized that this was something decidedly different. They understood what difference needed to be made. And by applying that simple genius of rebinding the omega-3 to the polyphenol, you now had a fully functional supplement that could meaningfully bring about a change, an alteration, an improvement to your omega-3 status.
Thank you so much, Alison. And I'll take it from here now. Thank you so much. So, good evening, everyone. Welcome from Portugal. Just to tell you a little bit about myself to start with. I met Zinzino 4 years ago, and it was just the right moment that I needed. So I don't know what is your situation, your particular situation. I don't know what is happening around you, to your loved ones, to the people that you know. But I would ask you, are they energetic? Do they feel well in themselves? Or are they then feeling something? Because like we heard Alison say, there's so much around. And like Dr. Collins said, there's a solution. We have that huge database, but now this is what that amazing work that was done during 30 years to find the formula and figuring out that it's not all about omega-3, but it is then that combination, that synergy between the polyphenol and the omega-3. And we have the tests showing that. There's lab results comparing the balance oil to other very well-known omega-3 products. And you can see that there's a little graph just here on your screen showing that it has a bioavailability of up to 35 hours. That makes a difference. So it means that then the omega-3 is then available in our body up to 35 hours for the cell regeneration. That's where we want it. That's where we want it to make its magic. It's just food, but then it's food that we actually have again in our plates. And it is a little bit different than the norm. It's not a capsule, it's an oil. And apart from having the polyphenol, that is the game changer that you've heard, it has as well vitamin D3, and we take it according to our weight and age. It's personalized. It's all about us. It's not one size fits all. And because we are considered, and we know that there's different situations that we go through in our lives, this is the standard balanced oil. It comes with flavors because we don't want that fish flavor in our mouth all day. We do have a premium product for those ones that already understand that polyphenols have a huge part to take in our health. And we have as well one for when we go on a trip and we still want to be taking our product, we still want to consume our omega-3, or then because we don't want and we don't fancy that oily flavor in our mouth, we do have this. But then we have for those people that are more sensitive or don't have gallbladder, then we have this one that has a natural emulsifier, so it dissolves in water and it's easier and convenient. Even children, then it's easy for them to consume. And then we have the vegan based in algae. So anyone with any diet, type of different diet can consume a balanced oil that has the proper polyphenol and omega-3. But there's always the question, who should be taking this? Like Alison said, we are all made of cells. So the answer is there. Everyone needs this. In every different stage of our life, we have different requirements, but it's also crucial for the cell regeneration. If we look from the babies to our older years, we need it. I'm not going to go into much detail, but just see, I give huge importance to the middle figure, the woman with a baby, because it is so important for both. When we are having a new life inside of us, we are giving them everything. If we don't have nutrition just for ourselves, how can we give to the new being that is being formed? And when we think about omega-3, let's look into just the brain, because 30% or 60% of our brain is fat, most of it omega-3. So if we don't have from this perspective, how can we expect that then everything goes well? And it's a huge impact as well in the mother, because if she doesn't consume the food, the baby has to have it. It has to have that brain. So it steals from the mother. So I don't know if anyone recognizes that after maternity and during and several pregnancies, there is a toll on the mother in the thinking process and how tired they are. So there's already a lot of research and a lot of evidence of the impact of not having enough omega-3 in our daily consumption. So important for everyone. When we look into the claims that we can strongly say about omega-3, this does not come from Zinzino. This is from the European Food Safety Authority. In different countries, there is different claims that we can say. I know it's different in Canada, it will be different in other parts of the world, but here in Europe, we can say this. But if we just look into the top three, there are common sense everywhere in the world. Normal brain function, normal heart function, normal immune function. Who wouldn't like just to have those three totally ticked off? That's just basic. If we just look at those three, wouldn't it be wonderful just to have a life that we can live without pain? Honestly, for me, it was a game changer. I know as well in the days that we live, how important it is to have certification, how important it is to have a guarantee that the products that we are consuming, they actually have quality, and what they say that they are inside the bottle in this case is actually what it is inside the bottle. So that's why all this sort of certification that Enzino has, it attests for that. And you can see it here. You can look into it and research if you wish. And here is a glimpse of just a summaries of those 1.5 million tests that have been done all over the world. And as you can see, it's not a good picture. We know that number 97% failed. And when you go into countries, so if I give you my country, Portugal, the average of the first test, it's way above of what it should be. But the beauty is when I started, or the sadness is, in a way, when I started 4.5 years ago, I was in England. I lived there for 20 years. And I always felt that while I was there, the food in Portugal is so much better. They will be better because they have access to fish. And here in England is not the same thing. And I was surprised when then I saw the results in Portugal and they are like this. But then it made sense because what we have access to is not wild-caught fatty fish anymore. It is farm fish, and that consumes flowers and not algae. So, but what gives us hope is that regardless where we are, regardless the average of the first test, after 4 months of consumption of the balanced oil, the averages of the second test all over the world are on the 3-to-1. So it's just a test for the quality of the product. That's the important thing, because regardless where we start, if we consistently add this, I wouldn't say supplement, I would say complement to our diet, it makes a difference. So we get there. That's the aim. And again, this is another perspective onto the values that we receive from the lab. And it's here. The evidence is here. The group on the left, at least my left, I don't know, sorry about that, but the group on the left, the orange one, they are from people that do not consume ever a product of omega-3. The middle one, they already consumed an omega-3. The furthest to the right, the green one, they consume balanced oil. So it is their second test and see the difference. But just to highlight to you the urgency of this and the importance of this, like Alison was saying, the difference in the food that we have access today. Look at the younger ages, the 0 to 9. Look where the ratios are higher. It is impactful to see that what we have access to is actually affecting the youngest generations, our future. That's our future, and is there. And when we look around, then it makes sense, understanding that this has a crucial impact in then the quality of that cell membrane and what it comes from there. So we can do something. And like Ricardo said in the beginning, this is hope. This is an impact. That's why it is so important. This is me. My first test 4.5 years ago. I was a 9-to-1. It doesn't seem that it's very high, but it is. It is not a 3-to-1. And at that moment in my life, like I was saying in the beginning, I was suffering a lot from gut problems. I normally say that food didn't agree with me. One day I liked it, the next day it didn't. Exactly the same food. It was impacting my mental health. I was not well at work. I couldn't focus because I was anxious. I didn't know what could happen next. I didn't know what to expect. At the same time, I was already expressing arthritis in my hand. And I was already feeling that I'm getting older. Everything was a little bit painful, all my joints, and it was kind of, maybe it's yoga time. Now I understand why people then go into yoga. And that was me. Everyone around me was just saying that, well, you passed the 40, that's normal. Get used to it. But I didn't want to accept that. That's just having an age over 40 meant that I couldn't eat well, that I had to make changes, and I love food. So when Zinzino came to us and it was introduced to me, I saw there's some hope here. If I do the test and I see that I have this, maybe then I can resolve what I have. So it was a hope that I didn't have until then, because everyone was just saying, don't eat this, don't eat that, don't eat that. But the funny thing is, I was not having those things for the past 10 years by choice. So that was not the difference to me. So something else was there. So for me, Zinzino was a hope. Was seeing that this is different. And that's why I'm here. That's why I'm here with you tonight, because it can happen for you as well. It can be a sign of hope, because life is not meant to be painful. So something is there. So, like I said, my issues were not just about pain, were not major in my head, obviously. I didn't know it could be the start of something more. But Zinzino gives us as well, like I said about my gut, gives us a look into 3 pillars, I would say 3 pillars of health, right? So it's not just, I know we are a very complex body. We are not just one system here, one system there. It's all interlinked. And there's more to us than just physical. But when we look into the physical, Zinzino looks into 3 areas. So we already explained loads and loads and loads about what's happening on a cellular level with the balance between the 6-3 ratio. But like Alison said, we are all super excited about this new test, gut health test. It's brand new and it's one of a kind. There's no other like this. Normally, and I suspect when we have gut problems, like it was me, then they try to ascertain what's going on there, what type of microbiome we have, and so on. So we do have to take a stool sample, not the greatest, and all of that. Zinzino's approach is not about the microorganisms that we have, the microbiome that we have, but it is what we have, what is actually supporting us with, or is it actually supporting us? So it's all due to that. And what fascinated me, and I got so thrilled, was when I answered the questionnaire, because it comes with a questionnaire. It's not just about our blood. We need to put an input as well. So it gives us a lifestyle assessment. Was asking me about my sleep, was asking me about what I eat, what type of exercise I do, all of it. So it's quite complete. So because all of that, it has an impact on our gut health. So it is unique. I think everyone should look into that, because more and more we hear nowadays that gut is our second brain. That famous gut-brain connection, how everything unfolds. So we should all look into that. Start with the basics. Have that balance test to know how are we balanced, chronic inflammation or not, 6-3 ratio balance to unfold everything. Then let's optimize with the gut health test. And for this, then this is my favorite, this is my savior from my perspective, which is the xenobiotic. It is a blend of prebiotic fibers that are in lack in our food. They are not for us. It's not for us to sustain ourselves. It is specific food for our microbiome. They love it. They strive on it. The specific one that actually supports us, that release anti-inflammatory markers. So again, just remember, everything that Zinzino is offering is just extra food for our plates, that it was once 70, 60 years ago, still available, and no longer now. So, and I love it, because from a perspective, you then have the certification there, and you can see that a huge line is all natural. That's it. So it's, the body will recognize it's something that we are desperate to consume. And when we look into the third pillar, our immune system, then we have the Extend. And the Extend, it is just minerals and vitamins, 23 of them, all in one capsule or tablet. And we don't have to have loads. And there's always that confusion because then sometimes they shop, they don't help each other. It's a confusion when we go into the supplementation world. And what Zinzino done with Extend, it just made it simple for us. They all synergetically work together and support each other. So we have what is called the health protocol. So it's really, for me, I call it is the base of us. You start with balance ourselves, we restore then our gut, so with the gut support, and we support our immune system. But then there's some of us that from time to time, or unfortunately quite often, suffer from stress, have issues from more of a anxiety level, or even depression, or just problem sleeping, of having quality of sleep. And for that, Zinzino designed Viva Plus, which we call amongst ourselves as the spa of the mind. I personally use it every time that I travel by plane, figure out that I have anxiety, because I normally, during my travel, I would get nauseated and sick. And I decided, why not? What do I have to lose? Let me just try. I have it here. If it's for the nervous system, maybe it works. And it does. It's wonderful. I found my specific dose and I just fly on a dragon every time now. So it's bliss, no issue. So it is, you don't feel doped like it happens when I heard stories. So I had the experience of my mom being on antidepressants, and I could see how she was, and it helped her massively to stop taking them, using Viva Plus at the same time, to a point that she's no longer on antidepressants and she's just on a normal dose just of maintenance with Viva. And that's those are the stories, what we can achieve just by naturally replacing what is missing in our diet. I'm going to just show you very quickly other products that we have. They are all based again in various specificities of vitamin D3. We all need it. We know even countries like Portugal that we have so much sunshine that every time that is hot and sunshine, we stay indoors. So we actually don't expose ourselves enough to have enough vitamin D3 that is crucial for a good function of our immune system. So you have it here. Then spirulina. We all heard most likely about spirulina. It is a superfood. It is important if we want to optimize how we are. And you have here a blend that is extremely, extremely good. Look at the facts on spirulina. It's fantastic. Another version of spirulina here with extra potent antioxidant effect, and it's in an aqueous form. So very, very interesting. I love it. I consume it every day as well, and I feel the effects of it. This is an extra that I take as well, personally, for my gut support, which is turmeric and black pepper. I think who is already looking into gut support, gut health, knows about it. And here you have it in a very convenient way. And I'm going to now show something that when it came out, I was, why are we doing this? Why collagen? But one of the things is then looking into what actually the collagen is for us in our body. And I was then very surprised to find out that it's the matrix of us. It's a protein that we produce, but we stop producing since the age of 21. So then it's decline. And the more inflammation we have in our body, the faster the decline it is. So you can see how important it is to replenish it and actually have it, and the importance that it has for our cartilage, our muscles, our fascia. So it is to look into it. So when we look into all of it, I always say that it is huge to look into a better health, to have a longer life, but with quality, that we don't get to our retirement years and we spend them going to the doctor and trying to survive. I think it's the aim of everyone to just be able to spend time with their children and with our grandchildren, still with quality and having fun, or just having a meaningful life. So I say that for us is having quality. But there's those ones that you can see some here. They look at Zinzino for peak performance. And when I look at every single one of them, they come with a troop of doctors and nutritionists and all support just to be in their peak. But every single one of them, they've done that balance test and they failed that test. And the surprising is when they start consuming the balanced products, the health protocol, after 4 months, they got into balance. But most important for them was the difference in their performance, how they felt, how they could then recover faster and get a better performance. And that's why they talk and share about Zinzino. So if they feel it, we will definitely have the same experience. So that's why we share about them, not with intention of, okay, look, these people take it, but it is as an example that it works for every single one of us. Because what's the important is just put back into our plate what was once there. And now I want to share with you something that when I watched this video for the first time, it was quite impactful. I think this summarizes the choices we have in life.
What will your last 10 years look like? Will you be quick enough for a game of tag with your grandchild? Strong enough to embrace every moment? Will you grow old with vitality? Or get old with disease? It's time to decide.
Right. Thank you so much, Alison, for your contribution to tonight's call. I think it's just a combination of remarkable information that you share with all of us. What I can say is that we no longer need to guess. I think those days can actually be behind our backs. We can move forward just by testing, just by having such valuable information about our inner universe. And information that unfortunately doctors are not able to give you on your daily routine check and visit because they don't have the technology to do so. But at the prick of a finger, you will be able to discover so much more. So just to finalize, and like Patricia and Alison, it's important that we all share stories so you are aware what's actually going on, and you not necessarily have to be dealing with a chronic disease. You might actually be recovering from an injury. You actually might be recovering from surgery. So I want to share my story. And my story was that around 5 years ago, I had a really nasty injury on my right knee. I've dislocated my knee. I broke all my ligaments. I broke my patella. And the diagnosis from my surgeon after my surgery was that I would never be able to do any physical activity whatsoever. And the true reality was that 1 year after, I was still limping. I was still struggling. And I had to reassess what my future would look like as a human, but also in my professional life, because I've always been involved with sports. Then I met Zinzino. And then Zinzino transformed my life because I've tested, I've identified my level of inflammation, and I started understanding that all I was made of cells. I was a combination of trillions and trillions of cells, including my muscles, including my bones, including my tendons, my ligaments. And I gave enough time to my body to regenerate in a balanced manner. I eliminate my level of inflammation. I gave myself enough vitamins and minerals to boost my immune system and to restore the strength of my bones. And today I can tell you that I play all multiple sports that you can imagine. I teach fitness classes. I'm 50 years old, and I feel like a brand new man. So thank you, Patricia. Thank you, Alison, for all the information. I listened to it as if it was the first time. I love it, and I hope you actually consider moving away from guessing to go into testing. And that is a massive step into your health. So thank you very much, so much for your presence tonight, and see you soon. Thank you.